Hey everyone, today we're going to be looking at the Cosmic Legion's T.U.5.C.C. Science Officer figure. So I was able to pick this figure up off of a whatnot seller named Slimo Trading, who was able to hook me up with this awesome Cosmic Legion figure. I'll be honest, I have absolutely no knowledge of Cosmic Legions or Mythic Legions for that matter. I've heard of them, in the past. I'm very familiar with the Four Horsemen as far as statues are concerned. I do own a few of their Batman statues. However, I'm not really familiar with them as far as full-blown figures with articulation are concerned. So this is honestly my first, dip of my toe into those waters. This is my first Cosmic Legion figure, and I am over the moon to have them in front of me. This looks absolutely awesome, so I just want to thank Slimo Trading for hooking me up and getting me this figure, because this thing is absolutely sick. I can already tell I'm really going to enjoy this figure. So just to get a look at it from outside the box, from inside the box rather, got a really good looking packaging here, classic looking action figure packaging. I say classic looking, really all I mean is there's an open window. Now that we live in this world of, windowless packaging, which, I'm not a big fan of. It's going to go away, but, it's just nice to see windowed packaging here. And this looks really great. Got a good image of the science officer here. I'm not sure what this symbol means. I think it might have something to do with the faction that this character is based out of. I'm honestly not sure. If you know, please comment below and let me know what that means. But then we also get this cool little side window here where we do get to see, first of all, a read up of the character, which is pretty cool. So we can just go ahead and pause that now if you want to read that. And then also you get a look at some of the accessories. He has this spare, exposed alien head here. He has this like hologram that comes out of his wrist. You can see actually in the image here, him using it. And then on the inside, you can't really see, but in here, it looks like he comes with an extra pair of hands and a couple of weapons here. It looks like he has a rifle and at least 2 blasters. I think he comes with a helmet as well. So we're going to go ahead and crack this bad boy open here in a second. Just to give you a look at the other side real quick. Looking really nice. And then the back, you get a look at all the other figures in the wave. Honestly, if this review goes well, and I'm already thinking it's going to, because I love how this figure looks already. And guys, it's just a white figure. Like, it's just a white figure. So really, honestly, I'm basing this almost like 90% on the sculpt. So already, if I'm basing it on the sculpt, just from what I see here, I'm already impressed. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and crack this thing open and see if I found a new addiction. Moving along into the accessories here, there is a fair amount to be had with the science officer, with the exception of one thing that I will bring up. But to start, we have these little cool, clear, cylindrical pieces. We have a set of, 2 short ones here. And then we have a set of 2 longer ones. And the purposes of these clear cylinders is you go ahead and you take the weapon. There is a plug on the back of it. You plug in the little clear peg, and then on the figure, there are these little peg holes on the belts, on the side, on his arms. And what you can do is you can store the weapons right on them. I think the obvious issue with these is if you lose these, and it only comes with these 4, if you lose these, you're shut out of luck. Like, there goes your storage for your figure, for, weapons on your figure. So that kind of sucks. But overall, I think it's cool. And again, these are meant for adult collectors. So it's not like, kids are supposed to be handling this stuff. So, just, get a Ziploc bag, put it in there, throw it in a drawer, hopefully you don't ever lose them. But there are those. And then to get into the weapons, obviously, you just took a look at the blaster, but it's really, well sculpted, and it has this really nice silver paint over it. I thought the plastic was, just silver, but it is, in fact, it looks like a silver paint because it is rubbing off on the hands. And we'll get into that here in a second. But looks really nice. And then the blaster rifle is the same way. Looks really, really good. Also has that peg hole on the back, so you can plug it in. And then as far as the hands are concerned, we have 2 sets of hands. We have a set of gripping hands that look really nice. And if you can see, like I mentioned before, there is that silver paint that is rubbing off on the hands when you're putting the guns in the figure's hands. And then you'll also notice that on my fingers, I am getting this like speckled white paint particles from the pearlescent paint on the figure. So it is rubbing off. Something I also noticed is every time I unplug the hands, like chunks of white paint come off. So eventually there's not going to be any white paint on here. And as you can see, if I bring it in, the plastic is white underneath, but it's already, all that paint is rubbed off, as you can see. So there is that. Then we have, oh, and by the way, these do have a, looks like a vertical hinge, which is really nice. We'll get into the articulation here in a little bit. And then we have a set of trigger holding hands. Same issue with the paint. It's rubbing off on my fingers, and it's also, you know, the more you have these plugged in, the more you're gonna get that chipping of the paint. But yeah. Looks really, really good. And then the trigger holding hands do have a horizontal hinge instead. So that's nice. And then we also have this holographic projection, which is really cool. I think the blue plastic looks really nice here. Digging that. And then we have the head sculpts, which are really the best parts of the accessories here. To first start with the unmasked head sculpt. I'm really loving this. Definitely is evocative of like Star Wars. This is my first Cosmic Legions figure, and I have a feeling it's not going to be my last. But until I get more, I'm more than likely going to have this guy displayed with my bounty hunters on my Star Wars shelf. So definitely going to be with this head sculpt, because this head definitely is evocative of like a Star Wars alien, and I'm really liking it. I love the sculpt, and again, I love the paint because it looks like there's a little bit of like darker purple paint in the crevices, which looks really nice. So that's cool. And then the helmeted head sculpt is absolutely rad. Like this thing, the pearlescent white paint, the metallic blue plastic like molded detail inside, and then that clear dome over it. Man, this is really, really cool. Like you probably can't really pick it up on the viewfinder, but just when the light hits this thing right, this thing just looks so dope. And then lastly, this is the thing I do have an issue with. It comes with this piece right here. And for a while, I felt like I was missing a piece to this figure. And I couldn't tell what it was. And I couldn't tell what this specific piece was supposed to be, but it felt incomplete to me. So I went back and I started looking at the product images of this online, and come to find there is a missing piece. This was supposed to have a dome. The way this works is, if I get the figure here, let me go ahead and throw a head on him. So let me throw the alien head here, right? The way this is supposed to work is I'm supposed to be able to get this part of the dome piece. I'm supposed to be able to throw it over his head here, and then I can align these two pegs, these two pieces right here, with the back, and see how it goes in nice and flush, and you'll kind of feel it peg in because it becomes nice and firm. But as you can see, what it does is it makes the neck armor expand up, and what's supposed to be right here is a clear dome. And instead, they didn't give us that for whatever reason. And I have yet to read into why. I'll probably do so during the editing of this video, but I don't understand why we didn't get this clear dome. I saw it in the production images, in the promotional images rather. So for me, like, it didn't upset me as much because I didn't look at all the production images. I just saw a few images of this and thought, this looked dope, I'm gonna buy it. So I wasn't anticipating the dome, but now knowing that it was supposed to come and I didn't get it, I'm a little upset about that, because I can tell you if this looked dope, I'm sure having a clear dome over this would have made this, just thrown this over the top. So that's kind of suck. That kind of sucks. And again, the thing that makes me most upset is they still give you this piece, but they give it to you, and now it's pointless. Like, they gave us a pointless piece, to be honest with you. It's cool. It's aesthetically pleasing. I guess that's the purpose, right? But it's incomplete. It's at the end of the day, it's incomplete. So that is a bit of a bummer for me. But that's the last little rant of that. But yeah, a good amount of accessories. Definitely a good amount of accessories. Wow, guys, out of the gate, this thing is incredible. I don't want to talk this thing up and have people, have expectations that are too high, but wow, just wow, the sculpt is absolutely just immaculate on this. And the paint, even though, at first glance, you're just thinking, this is just a white figure. Like, what are you talking about, the paint? Well, this is absolutely molded in white plastic, but this is also painted on top of that. You can't really tell through the camera, but this has a really, really nice coat of pearlescent white paint on it. Overall, this just is incredible. So you're seeing the figure right now, posed with as many accessories as I could throw on him, short of his spare head and additional hands. And again, I'm just blown away. So let's just, get right into it as to why, right? This sculpt is just detailed to the nines. Like, oops, let's take a look at this. Everything on here is textured, and it's so nice throughout the entire sculpt. You look at all that detail. Like, do I need to even say anything here? Like, I honestly could just be silent and just let you guys just take it in for yourself. Look at all that detail you're getting. Absolutely gorgeous. And you can now kind of look right here. You can really pick up that pearlescent white paint. And it is look at that shimmer to it. It is absolutely gorgeous. Just everything about this. Really, really nice. So, beyond the obvious sculpt and paint things that I'm loving here, I'm also just, over the moon with the articulation. It has way more articulation than I expected. So let's get into that. Let's go ahead and first, let me unplug this here and just get him without that on there. If we take a look here, and actually, let me also take his rifle out of here, get it out of the way. So if we take a look, arms can go out, Y pose, not super, super high, He is hindered by all that armor that he does have, but still really good, still very, very, useful for articulation. Arms can go 360, a little bit hindered by the articulation slightly, but it can still go all the way around. And then he has single jointed elbows that can be hindered by this chunky piece of armor. So you really want to move this piece so that you get the most of your articulation and you can bend it as far as you can, which just goes about 90. Like, that's about right at 90. So you got that. And let me also pull this. Pull the head off first, get that piece. So, you get that, and you have the wrist articulation, like I mentioned. This blaster holding hand with the trigger finger has a horizontal hinge, while the grip holding hand has a vertical hinge. Then we have this ab articulation that seems non-existent right here, but what they did, which I admire here, is they made this piece removable. And when you make the piece removable, you can get that sweet articulation that is hidden in there. And all you have to do is then re-plug this thing in. Now, I won't go in all the way, so you're going to have to mess with it a little bit. You're going to kind of have to half it there. But you can get more articulation if you unplug it. So that is kind of cool. And again, that articulation doesn't go far back very much at all. It's probably because of all this chunky armor on the back. But the articulation is definitely there. Then, you twist the hips, plug this back in. And then at the legs, he does have like alien, legs. He doesn't have, he has these weirdly shaped legs, which are, cool. But, normal articulation as far as what you'd expect in an action figure. He has single jointed knees, that go about 90 degrees, maybe slightly past 90. And then thigh articulation, which is actually pretty good. Like it reminds me of the DC Universe Classics and their crotch like pits that they had here. Kind of reminds me of that, but still, you know, pretty good. Can kick up pretty well, can kick back pretty good too. And then down here has great ankle pivot and ankle articulation. So you can get him in some really dynamic poses here. I'm trying to get him in his widest stance I can possibly get him. I mean, you can do something like that. I could have him with both, you know, both pistols in hand. Do something like that very easily. And again, it holds his, you know, balance. Really well done figure. So this thing is just firing on all cylinders, guys. On to a little size comparison. So to start, as I mentioned before, this is my only Cosmic Legions figure. So to start, I'll probably have him posed next to some Black Series figures. But just to show you, let's get him next to the Bounty Hunter, Boba Fett. And as you can see, the alien is a bit larger, but I think the scaling still works here. You know, aliens are of different varying sizes in the Star Wars universe, so I can definitely see this kind of working in a display or a diorama. So I'm liking that. And then to get you another look at what he looks like next to a Star Wars character, let's get him next to definitely an inspiration for this figure for sure. Our classic Stormtrooper. So those are looking really nice next to each other. Like I mentioned, there is definitely some kind of, you know, inspiration in this science officer figure. Definitely pulling inspiration from the Stormtrooper design, just with the all-white look. You know, if anybody were to tell you, hey, just tell me the name of a white sci-fi military officer, the first thing most people would think of is a Stormtrooper. So I definitely think there's some inspiration being pulled from that here. Looks really good. And then next to, you know, the Lord of the Sith himself, Darth Vader. I think this works. Vader is, you know, a little bit taller than your average Black Series figure, and standing at almost the same height. The science officer still got some height on him. But I think, again, I think this works. I think the scaling here still definitely works. You could definitely include the science officer in one of your bounty hunter displays, or, you know, a bounty hunter diorama, and definitely it wouldn't look too far out of place. I think the thing that looks most out of place, if you're going to do what I'm going to do and pose this guy and have this guy displayed with Star Wars figures, is the blasters. I mean, the blasters that he has definitely are, you know, more specifically that rifle is so, you know, out of universe that, you know, that might kind of take you out of it a little bit. But otherwise, I mean, it's sci-fi characters. I think you can, you know, make it work. But maybe I can get him to keep holding this. All right, whatever. Don't worry about it. That's just gonna have to fall. And we'll pull Vader out of here anyway. And let's now get him displayed next to some more like cosmic DC figures, you know, space, you know, characters. So here he is next to our DC Multiverse. I'll adjust the camera. Next to our DC Multiverse Lobo. And as you can see here, this is a little bit better. As you can see here, the Lobo is just towering over the science officer. This is a 7-inch scale figure. However, this figure, I don't know the exact height on this figure, but it's definitely more than 7 inches. This is a big figure. So you can see he's towering over the science officer. But I do think these can work in scale because I think, you know, again, I'm going to use this for a Star Wars display, but you could honestly use this for almost any kind of, you know, space character display. I think another cool option for this is, especially if you have more of these Cosmic Legions figures, but maybe you're not really all into the lore, you don't know anything about the lore, and you want to use these figures for other things. I think another good idea for this is to have these for like a War World display. So getting them next to Mongol here, another situation where just Mongol just is absolutely towering, you know, over this figure. Give you a look there. So you could absolutely use the science officer. I think this could work perfectly in like a War World display, having him being one of the combatants, at War World, or just a guard, at War World. Definitely think this figure works for that. And there you have it, folks. This figure is absolutely sick. As you can see, you can pose him with virtually any set of, McFarlane, Multiverse, Black Series, Marvel. I didn't display him next to any Marvel Legends, but I'm sure it would work with some Marvel Legends. I mean, look at this. Like right now I have him in this cool, working as a bounty hunter for Mongol kind of display. I mean, this I think works really, really well. So overall, an incredible figure. I think it's a solid pickup. I believe this figure cost me about $45 before taxes and shipping. So it is a pricier figure, but you are getting so much with it. Again, that sculpt is incredible. The articulation is great. The paint, for just for an all white figure, the paint is, they could have just done white plastic. They could have gone the cheap route, but they didn't. They went the extra mile and they painted this figure up, and they really, really made it for. I don't buy figures unless I like have an affinity for the characters. I don't know what this character is, and I picked him up solely from the fact that it looked dope, and I'm glad that I have it. So again, definitely pick this figure up, worth a buy. But as always, guys, I thank you for watching, and remember to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. And check me out on Instagram. I am on there at Han_Jones_93. But yeah, thank you guys. Peace.